necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope everyone had a great weekend. PTL Nation, good to be with you. Refreshed. Watched a lot of basketball over the weekend. It was a lot of fun. And now it's time to get back to business and get back to work. So I appreciate everybody being here. It's been a little bit of a long day for me. Thus far, woke up really early to do the Pierce Morgan show. We'll be probably playing those highlights a little bit later on tomorrow on the show. But I did sit down again with my very good friend, Michael Knowles. And then also in that actual show, I was, how should I put this? I'm trying to think of the right words to describe it. You know what? I'll leave it as a surprise. But on this show today, I called somebody Jersey Shore. I called somebody an idiot, and I broke some breaking news with Michael Knowles. So it was a lot of fun. It was a good time, and we'll probably play some highlights from the show tomorrow. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, I love pranksters, right? Especially MAGA pranksters, people that prank idiots that happen to be Donald Trump supporters. There's a guy by the name of Robbie Roadsteamer. He just went into a Tesla car dealership, started screaming out, breaking Elon, breaking Elon, singing that song instead of breaking the law. He went to Planned Parenthood, and there were protesters in front there. He was knocking on the MAGA protesters there, knocking on them. He got kicked out of CPAC. He calls Donald Trump the hair plug Hitler, and he goes to these Trump rallies, and he just clowns on these MAGAs. Anyway, Robbie will be joining us on the show at the bottom of the hour. Robbie's really funny, so I'm really looking forward to that. And we need to laugh a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of serious stuff happening in the world and a lot of serious topics we'll talk to today. But I promise you, Robbie's going to make you laugh. He is great. So Robbie Roadsteamer himself will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. So I'm going to start with some positivity today. You know, I've been ragging on Democrats lately. I'm not happy with leadership, and I'm still not happy. However, I will say this. I'm happy with what I saw for some select Democrats over the weekend. I'm going to start with Ro Khanna, who I think is a good dude, very intelligent. So he did a few town halls over the weekend, and I think Ro is very intelligent, very well-spoken. I think he's really good. And he went out to a district in California that was very red, and I just felt like he made so many great points in his speech. Have a listen to this.
Look, there's some people in my party who think we should just talk about the price of eggs and the price of groceries and inflation, and we should. But you know what I think really moves people in this country? When you talk about our values. We cannot throw the trans community under the bus. We cannot throw immigrants under the bus. We cannot be afraid to stand up for due process, even if it's politically not expedient. If they come after the trans community today, they're going to come after immigrants tomorrow. They're going to come after the LGBTQ community next, and then women and the black community and all of us.
So I agree with that. And as I've said plenty of times, and I'll say again, the messaging needs to improve with Democrats. And I think Ro Khanna has done a good job with that, and he's right. And I think they just need to keep hitting that home. You know, he did multiple town halls in California over the weekend, and they were packed. And as I said, some of them were in red districts. So good job by Ro Khanna. I thought he did a really good job. And while this was all going on, Jasmine Crockett doing, of course, what she does best, and going after Pam Bondi. And it's interesting because Pam Bondi today lied once again in a press conference like 30 minutes ago. She made the claim that the people of Greenland want them there. No, they don't. Everybody within the government and pretty much every public official in Greenland has said they don't want them coming to Greenland. But yet Pam Bondi was lying about that. And listen, Jasmine Crockett just absolutely tearing her and ripping her a new one. Have a listen to her over the weekend.
Want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever, yet I've also never made excuse for those violent actors such as the ones on January 6th. So Pam Bondi, if you have an issue with terrorism, maybe you should talk to your boss about locking back up those guys that he let out that participated in January 6th.
Completely agree. Now, I've made that same case that if you think these people that lit Tesla cars on fire are domestic terrorists, then maybe you shouldn't call people who beat cops on January 6 patriots. What about the guy who tased a bunch of peaceful protesters over the weekend that was a MAGA supporter? Do you hear Pam Bondi calling him a domestic terrorist? No, of course not. Because if you're a Donald Trump supporter, somehow you're a patriot no matter what law you break. You can assault police officers. Doesn't matter. You can tase, innocent, peaceful protesters. But if you key a Tesla car, which, by the way, I don't condone, but if you key a Tesla car, somehow that makes you some sort of domestic terrorist. It is absolute BS. It's nonsense. And it's why I always call these MAGA morons on the far right hypocrites at a minimum. Now, another guy over the weekend that held some town halls, Eric Swalwell. Sometimes I agree with him. Sometimes I disagree with him. But I do think Eric Swalwell did a great job over the weekend when he started talking about, quote, the season of democracy. Listen to what he had to say over the weekend to some of his constituents.
And a college coach would always tell me every time we started a season, think about what you want the last game and the last moment of that game to feel like. And right now, for our democracy, we know what it felt like in November. So as we start this season of democracy that'll take us to November 4, 2026, today is about you thinking about what do you want that day to look like. To me, it's a day of celebration. It's a day of accountability. It's a day of redemption for our democracy. It's a day where we cut our time in hell in half by winning the midterm.
Now, I agree with that, and that's what the Democrats need to focus on now. They need to focus on the midterms. They need to turn out. They need to do what Ro Khanna was doing. They need to do what Jasmine Crockett is doing. And you need to do what Ossoff is doing. Listen, I disagree with him with the way he voted on this GOP spending bill. However, he is an extremely intelligent guy, and he is a guy that speaks truth to facts to, I guess, fiction, for lack of a better term. And here is him, again, speaking to some of his constituents and talking about this ridiculous $5 million gold card that the Trump administration is offering to people that come into this country. It's ridiculous. And he starts talking about Don Jr. And, this is the way Democrats need to start talking across the board. Have a listen to this.
And then on top of the chaos, you have the corruption. It was just reported that dinner with the president at Mar-a-Lago is on sale for just $5 million. And really, the whole royal family is cashing in. Don Jr. is setting up a new business empire. Jared's investment firm got $2 billion from the Saudi royal family. Like, Hunter Biden should have been more ambitious.
That's actually really funny. And true at the same time. You notice how all these MAGA Republicans have their pantyhose in a bind because Hunter Biden, who never worked in the Joe Biden administration, was making $50,000 a month off of Burisma, but you never hear them talk about Jared Kushner receiving $2.1 billion from the Saudis. You'll never hear them talking about Ivanka Trump making over $600 million in Chinese trademarks from China. You'll never hear them talking about people spending 7 figures to pray with Donald Trump or $5 million to have a dinner with Donald Trump. They'll never seem to complain about that. They'll never seem to have a problem with that. But let's still talk about Hunter Biden's paintings, and let's talk about Hunter Biden making $50,000 a month from Burisma. Again, there's some of the biggest hypocrites and clowns that this entire country has to offer. Now, as you know, Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez have been on their tour fighting an oligarchy. And they recently had one of those stops in Vegas, and they've been making the rounds. They were in Arizona over the weekend. We'll get to AOC in a moment. But I think Bernie Sanders really resonates with a lot of Americans when he starts talking about Donald Trump's foreign policy, and specifically when it comes to Gaza. This is what he had to say in Arizona over the weekend.
45,000 people are dead there. 100,000+ are wounded, mostly women and children. Netanyahu government should not get another nickel of military weaponry from the United States. And if you can believe, as bad as all of that is, what they now want to do is force the 2 million people out of Gaza and build some playground for the billionaire class. Unbelievable.
These are crowds of like 15,000 plus that have been showing up at these events. So that's certainly a good sign for Democrats. As far as what Bernie Sanders was just talking about, he certainly has a very good point. He talked about a lot of important issues, one of them being the situation with the Israel-Palestinian conflict, which I think you could make the argument is worse off today than it was on day one of Donald Trump's administration. He also said the war would be over in 24 hours in Ukraine. There were more airstrikes over the weekend because Putin does not want peace. More innocent children and women have died. And Vladimir Putin does not want peace. It was Zelensky who offered to sign a ceasefire, and it is this man, Vladimir Putin, who refuses to do so and continues to kill innocent people. But it's funny, Donald Trump always says that Putin wants peace. If he wants peace, then why is he throwing out bombs to innocent civilians? You'll never hear him talk about that. And then when he's asked, 24 hours, right? When he's asked, why did you say that the war would be over in 24 hours? His response is, well, I was just being sarcastic. Just like when he was asked the day after, why did you talk about injecting yourself with disinfectant? His response, oh, I was just joking. No, the real answer is I lied, and my idiot, low IQ voters and supporters believe me when I say those things. Yeah, it's been 2 months. The war's still going on. No close to a resolution there or even a ceasefire. Now, listen, I was asked this question this morning on Piers Morgan about AOC, that she's some sort of extremist and she's bad for the Democratic Party. I completely disagree. Now, I'm not saying that AOC should run for president. In fact, I've never said that. I don't think that would be a good idea, but she is certainly a rising star in the party. And I've talked a lot about the trans issue, and I disagree with some Democrats on this issue. No, I don't think that transgenders should be playing in sports with people who are born women. However, it's not a top 5 issue. It's not a top 10 issue. And that's the point that AOC was trying to make here, that Republicans seem to be obsessed about this story and obsessed about transgenders. But why does it have to be put on the House floor? Talk to the NCAA about that. Listen to what AOC had to say about this very issue.
And they will throw out every label and judgment and cultural debate in the book to keep us distracted, folks. This is what the focus on trans kids is all about. Come on, 1% of the entire population. If people want to have conversations about that, take it to the NCAA. It doesn't need to be on the floor of the United States Congress. We need to be taxing the rich on the floor of the United States Congress. We need to be establishing guaranteed health care on the floor of the United States Congress, not erasing American history on the floor of the United States Congress. We need to be passing a living wage on the floor of the United States Congress.
I agree. Very valid point. No matter what your opinions are on transgenders playing in sports, she makes a very valid point there. These are the types of issues that are more important to MAGA Republicans, whether Donald Trump gets his face on Mount Rushmore, banning books, attacking transgenders, attacking drag queens. What they're not focused on is health care. They want to take away your Social Security. They want to take away your Medicare. But they're not focused on the really important issues facing the American people. Gun violence, health care, for example. They want to deport every single person they think might be in a gang because they're brown and they don't have the proper paperwork, so I guess they don't deserve due process. And speaking of transgenders and speaking of DEI hires, let's talk a little bit about Pete Hegseth for a moment. Because over the entire weekend, the U.S. Secretary of Defense and the woman-abusing coward, as I would call him, Pete Hegseth, took a page out of his boss's playbook. He took to social media very late on a Saturday night because apparently he has no better things to do. and he hurled insults at another sitting judge, which is a pattern with the Trump administration, who granted, this judge granted an indefinite injunction against President Donald Trump's attempted ban on transgender volunteers and service members in the military. Now, make no mistake about it, this is a bigoted position that so many MAGA Republicans take. I do not care what is between your legs. If you are willing to serve this country and you pass the mental test, you pass the physical test, why should anybody care what is between your legs? You are willing to risk your life for this country. But if you're a moron MAGA Republican, you want to crap on the trans community and the gay community and all that stuff. So U.S. District Judge Anna Reyes issued an injunction against the ban. She wrote about it in her 75-page decision, saying the military ban is soaked in animus and dripping with pretext. Its language is unabashedly demeaning. Its policy stigmatizes transgender persons as inherently unfit, and its conclusions bear no relation to fact. Absolutely and positively, 100%, I agree with what that judge said. And if you really want to talk about incompetence, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I want you guys to have a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say about Pete Hegseth. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with Stephen A. Smith 150% on his opinions on Pete Hegseth. Have a listen to this.
You can't dispute didn't earn it. You didn't earn it. Hegseth has served our country as a military man. I saw military officers being very supportive of him when he was going through Senate confirmation hearings to become the defense secretary. I'm not here to cast any aspersions on him whatsoever, personal or professional. What I'm saying is that if you're a weekend host on a network and then you turn around and you're the defense secretary of the United States of America, overseeing 3.5 million people, I mean, 1 + 1 = 2. It ain't hard to comprehend that that was not something that was earned. There is nothing about the job that he was doing that qualified him for the job he has now. Yet he has it. And it's as defense secretary of the United States of America. I guess as the saying goes, only in America.
I agree with Stephen A. Smith 150%. I certainly don't always agree with him, but when it comes to Pete Hegseth, he is 150% correct. Now, if Pete Hegseth wasn't going after a judge and wasn't going after transgenders over the weekend, he removed Colin Powell's name from a list of notable Americans buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Hegseth also removed the names of every person of color and every woman on that same list. Only white men were left in place. I believe there is a direct correlation to that and Pete Hegseth having a tattoo on his body that says 100% white, because he is a bigot, and I believe he is a white supremacist sympathizer, and according to his own mother, a woman abuser. And this is the guy who Donald Trump picked to be the Secretary of Defense. And just today, ladies and gentlemen, Pete Hegseth proved once again why he should not be in the position that he's in, and he certainly didn't have the credentials to do so. So Pete Hegseth, today, hours ago, inadvertently let a reporter have access to highly sensitive real-time planning discussions and the subsequent bombing attack with the VP and most senior members of the Trump cabinet and national security team in on the discussions. This is why I said before, and I say again, Pete Hegseth is a national embarrassment. He should not be in the position that he's in. He is unqualified for the position. He couldn't even run a business with 100 people, ran that into the ground. And now he is only the second person in this country behind Donald Trump who has our nuclear codes. Can there be anybody in this country that is okay with that? Can there be anybody in this country that is okay with the position that Pete Hegseth is in? Is there anybody in this country with a brain that is okay with Tulsi Gabbard being in the position that she is in, being a Russian asset who failed to even call out Assad? Is there anybody that thinks that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., with zero, let me repeat, zero medical credentials to be in the position that he is in charge of our health? And for all you idiots out there on the far right that say, oh, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's going to ban certain foods. No, he's not. First of all, he's never even said that he was going to do that. And second of all he said was he wants people to know what's in their food. That's not banning certain foods. He hasn't come up with any clear view or position on how he's going to do what he's going to do. It's a joke. And Kash Patel, a man who literally has a hit list in his book of people that he is going to go after, they've already done it, ladies and gentlemen, and they're going to continue to do it. It's embarrassing. It's a joke. And Pete Hegseth is just a microcosm of what the Republican Party is today. They don't talk about the real issues. They certainly haven't done anything, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to a peace deal or even a ceasefire in Ukraine. And you look at the Israel-Palestinian conflict, Donald Trump saying that we were going to own Gaza and he was going to turn it into the Trump Taj Mahal certainly has not helped the situation any. I think some people could argue it's actually made the situation worse. The reality of the situation is that egg prices are still up $3 since Donald Trump took office, but I don't hear MAGA Republicans talking about inflation now or complaining about inflation. Why is that? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Donald Trump campaigned off of, on day one, I'm going to lower the price of groceries and gas, and yet throughout the country, the average price of gas has not plummeted or dropped, and groceries have not dropped. In fact, you can make the argument to the other side of it. And this is how stupid these MAGA Republicans are. On Newsmax and Fox News, they're bragging about egg prices are down. Yeah, they're down from where they were 2 weeks ago. They're not down from where they were on day one when Donald Trump took office. You MAGA right-wing dope imbeciles, you inbred morons. That's what we are dealing with here. Very uneducated people. Stupid, dumb, uneducated people. I want to go to the YouTube Super Chat real quickly before we go to our next guest. And on the YouTube Super Chat, your questions and comments can be heard. Vegas Paul, thank you very much for your donation. He says, Trump, Vance, Miller, and Hegseth must resign due to sending highly classified war plans to a reporter at The Atlantic. How stupid can you be? Well, I agree, Vegas Paul. I just mentioned that. How could you inadvertently do something like that? How stupid and incompetent are you, Pete Hegseth? Your mother was right. You're not just a woman abuser. You're a white supremacist sympathizer, and you're an imbecile. I wouldn't want you as a crossing guard for a school. You'd be unqualified for that. And you're the second in command and you're the Secretary of Defense. It's embarrassing. It's a joke. I remind everybody, you can make your questions and comments heard on the YouTube Super Chat if you'd like. And you can also check out my website, which is pushingthelimits.live. We run an independently owned radio show here. So you go to pushingthelimits.live. And when you go to that website, you can make donations. You could buy merchandise, shirts, hats, beanies, you name it. We sell it. All right, so I want to have a little bit of fun here now. We talked about a lot of serious topics, and we will continue to talk about some serious topics throughout the day today. But, you know, I love pranksters. The guys from The Good Liars have done this show before, and there's some great people that make me laugh, and I think they're extremely funny, and I love how they trigger MAGA Republicans. And the guy we have with us right now, I want to play a video. His name is Robbie Roadsteamer. Now, this is a guy who recently, just the other day, went into a Tesla and he started screaming out a song, Breaking Elon, Breaking Elon. I just burst out laughing. He's gone to CPAC. He got kicked out of CPAC. He calls Donald Trump hairplug Hitler. So before we get to him, I want to play this video of him triggering some of these MAGA morons with his guitar decked out in his incredible outfit that we will talk about. Just have a listen to some of this stuff. And some of these MAGA morons are so stupid, they started actually singing along with him, to his credit. Just have a watch of this.
I got my first shitty red hat. Bought it at the 5 and dime. Wore until it wore out. It was the summer that Trump did time. Oh, wow. This little Trump insurrection, I'm gonna let it slide. Everybody, this tiny Trump insurrection. Everyone, we're gonna let it slide. This little Trump insurrection, come on, we're gonna let it slide. Let it slide, let it slide, let it slide. These 40 sex allegations, come on, we're gonna let it slide. Everybody, these 40 sex allegations, come on, we're gonna let them slide. These 40 sex allegations, come on, we're gonna let it slide. Let it slide, let it slide, let it slide.
Oh my God, I love it. All right, so that legend himself is joining us right now on the show. The man himself, Robbie Roadsteamer, joining us. Robbie, it's
Hell yeah, Brian! It's an honor to be here.
You are hilarious, my friend. You are very funny at a time where we're very divided. And first, talk to me a little bit about your getup. How did you come up with this getup? Like you're wearing the thong. I try not to look at that, but you're wearing a thong and you've got this outfit going when you're singing on the guitar. How did you come up with this outfit?
I mean, it was basically evolution. It was like, I shadowed under another activist for 12 years, Vermin Supreme. Boot on his head, promising everybody to get a ponies. But I never brought out the Roadsteamer character until a year and a half ago. And it's been like Bobby Dylan, baby. It's been like the freewheeling Bobby Dylan album. And basically we started off, what you saw on that video was me on the acoustic guitar, singing the MAGA heads while they were waiting in line. And then it evolved. And we realized we didn't have to scream at them through lyrics about the Jeffrey Epstein plane or, basically Trump taking away all our health care and everything. All we had to do was wear a thong. We didn't have to say anything about January 6th. We didn't have to say anything about insurrections. All you have to do is trigger the trans fear inside any of these MAGA heads, because Fox News has all the MAGA weaponized against trans, mass, and migrants. That's it.
That's
they
true.
don't care about taxing the corporations, national health care, a decent minimum wage, nothing else. They have made trans people the new Adolf Hitler Holocaust all rolled into one. So
You're right.
if you go to a MAGA rally and like 90% of your body is screaming MAGA, you got like the nice MAGA fur vest on, you look wild, you got the Oakley sunglasses, you got the hat. They want to love me, but then they see the whale tail. They see the thong. And I'm telling you, Brian, that the thong elicited more political violence than anything I screamed at them about Jeffrey Epstein or insurrecting the Applebee's. That was
why am I not surprised? Let's go through some of these pranks that you've done. So you were kicked out of CPAC. Can you tell me the song that you were playing and what led up to that at CPAC?
Yeah, I mean, the song was, "Hey, Mr. Tangerine Man, get rid of brown people for me. Every white, there ain't no place I'm going to. Hey, pumpkin spice Satan man, get rid of every race but me. And on that jingly, jangly January 6th, I'll come a pardoning you." And that was the one. And here's the funny part, Brian, because I looked the part down there. They had it at Maryland at a hotel called Gaylord's, which I should have lampooned a lot more and stuff. But it was like, they gave me 15 minutes. Like, you watch the long version on YouTube. MAGA doesn't want to throw me out because they know I'm telling the truth. And It's like the security guards are laughing. There's like 10 police down there with dogs, but they don't want to remove me because they know I'm the new Kurt Cobain. They know that counterculture art is going to come back in a couple of months to a seismic level of earthquake. It happens every 30 years. We had Seattle, we had grunge, we had Nirvana, and that's when we were trying to romanticize Bill Clinton, the rock and roll president, saxophone, Arsenio Hall, MTV Rock the Vote. And then 30 years before that, we were in trouble too. Lyndon Johnson sent 50,000 of our men to Vietnam. Kennedy was killed. Martin Luther King was killed. Who was there to take the baton until the politicians got their crap together, which they never did, but art. And that's what's going to happen again. Haight-Ashbury, Seattle. And this time around, I think it's going to be political activism, counterculture comedy.
I agree. The thing that's so interesting, Robbie, is that you're very funny and you make a lot of people laugh, but as you said, you're also very factually accurate. Let's talk a little bit about the Tesla prank that you did not that long ago, where you go into a Tesla wearing like the thong, and you go in there with a megaphone. I don't know if you could sing a little bit for us about what you were doing, but it's very funny and it went viral. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I'm taking these guys down like, I wouldn't say Clint Eastwood because he's a MAGA himself and stuff.
Yes.
I'm taking them down like the Doc Holliday, one by one. I got Hulk Hogan twice last year.
Yes, you did. Yeah, we can.
time I had to dress up as a bear, and I got Marjorie Taylor Greene, Rudy Giuliani.
Wait, hold on. Let's start with Marjorie Taylor Greene because I don't want to leave any of this out. You were commenting on her legs, right? You were like 2 feet away from her. What were you saying to her?
Well, it's funny because for 6 months, a couple of years ago, I went MAGA as a joke. And I accumulated 25,000 followers on Facebook in 3 months because I was like, lock AOC up in Guantanamo Bay. And, I had a lot of middle-aged women in the Midwest giving me a lot of dirty Venmo, PayPal. And so I had this obsession with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm like, I love Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's got strong horse legs. And I had this song that I'd been singing for years, which is by a singer called Mink DeVille, late 70s, and it was called Savoir Faire. And the original was like, she's got style, she's got grace, she's got a terrible face, but she's got savoir faire. So I took savoir faire, I inserted horse legs, and I had, she's got style, she got grace, you put those liberals in their place, but she's got strong horse legs. Man.
I saw that video. You're literally 2 feet from her, so she clearly heard you.
That's my boyfriend. I'm telling you now,
her boyfriend's the worst. He's the worst.
The only reason why she got Brian Glenn was because we Dealey Plaza'd her ass in New Hampshire. That took place in New Hampshire. And if you look at the background, you see Vermin Supreme running behind her like the second shooter. It was a military-style troll bush from start to finish, man. And like she came out, she had just done an interview with Steve Bannon, who I also got.
Yes, she did.
She was running out, and Vermin first comes at her. He's like, Marjorie, and leads her right to the grassy knoll where I'm like, I want to sing a song to her.
It was great. Okay, we'll get to Steve Bannon quickly on Rudy Giuliani. So you find Rudy Giuliani, he's walking into a car gingerly, and you give him these stickers. Can you tell me PG-13 what the stickers said? And he took them too.
Make America poopy again, but it's not poopy. It rhymes with pretty. Make America. And it's like a call back to getting attitude in this country, man. I'm tired of centrist Democrats leading down comfortable people road instead of what we need to do on the left, like Bernie and AOC, to get some balls again. So
yes, I agree.
I made this attitude about being punk, and we were seeing Rudy at the Manchester, New Hampshire. He was at an SUV, and once again, Vermin Supreme was with me. I went up to his car, and I saw her, and I'm like, oh, my God. And I'm like, Rudy, take these stickers, give them to the gang, man. Make America again. And Vermin came up, and while Vermin was distracting Rudy, I stickered Rudy Giuliani's SUV. You can see it. I put like 3 Make America again stickers on it.
I love it. Oh, I love it. Now, Steve Bannon had just gotten out of jail. He holds his press conference, and somehow you're able to be right there front and center to ask a question. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie, you asked him, when's going to be the next Burger King insurrection?
I'm taking off the airplane pillow for this one, Brian. I'm telling you right now. But basically, I was going to get Steve at prison the night before in Danbury. And then I had a couple of heads up from some cool activists, including that Anarchy Princess, Mike Picard, Professional Douche. And I found out that he was at the Park Avenue. He was going to make a press conference out of it at a hotel over there, the Lowell's Regency. And so we went down to Manhattan. I was just expecting to protest out front. I go there. There's only 2 MAGA dudes out front and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is going to be miserable. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I just drove like 5 hours to get down there. I was like, oh, this isn't a good look and stuff. So I went up to these guys because I was in a red suit and I pretended I was MAGA. I'm like, hey, where's the party, bros? And they're like, get inside right now. They're taking people upstairs to the press conference. And literally like an 80s movie, I go right inside and they're like, is there anybody else for still photography? And I went up and I'm like, yeah, I'm with Tim Pool. And it just turned out
It so happened to turn out that Tim was taking a personal leave that week, probably scared about the election or something. And so, like, I went up into the elevator and I was there for 30 minutes with a bunch of scumbags and maggots swimming like fear and loathing in the center of Mount Doom. And they almost got wind of me. Like, the guys who took me out, one of them actually came up and stuff. And he's like, "Can we talk to you for a second?" And I pretty much yelled, "I'm live streaming for Tim Pool right now." And they jumped a mile back. And so that's why I think Steve Bannon gave me extra time, which threw me for like, what the heck? You know, I stand up and I'm like, "Steve, Robbie Roadsteamer here. I want to know, buddy, when's the next insurrection? Or can we storm a Burger King after this?" And I thought they were going to take me down like Jack Ruby, but instead he's like smiling.
Yes.
And his handlers behind him laughing. And I'm like, I guess I'll improvise here. "You don't remember me, dude? We were in Danbury together. Doesn't he look great? We were lifting weights together, man." And then they started to catch wind. They pulled me out. And then I said, "He looks like Yoda with AIDS." And that nationally on Twitter. Like, I don't trend on Twitter, but that trended on Twitter now.
Oh, your videos are incredible. If you're just joining us, he's Robbie Roadsteamer, professional comedian, prankster. You got to check out his videos, and we're going to talk about his YouTube page. He's great. I got a couple more I want to talk to you about. So you pranked Hulk Hogan twice. Now, your voice, you remind me of somebody from like the WWF in the 80s, right? You talk sometimes like a Hulk Hogan. You got that very deep, distinguished voice. So explain to me how this works. Somehow you get in this place where he's taking pictures and signing autographs with fans. Take me through this because it's hilarious.
I'm up in New England. I love wrestling. This was a hard one. I actually lived with China. You see that tattoo right there?
Oh, I did not know that.
WWE. And,
Wow.
You know, I love wrestling. And we found out that Hulk Hogan was hawking beer, real American beer, brother, up at liquor stores around New England, like worse. Like, I know that they're all offended by the Bud Light Rainbow can and stuff, but like they have brought it to epic proportions where Hulk Hogan tried to think of a beer to supplement. And so he visited a liquor store in Coventry, Rhode Island, and that's where I first hit him. And I went in and, you know, let's be honest, if I can cut, you know, the talking for a second, I am Macho Man Randy Savage when I do the character. And it's like, you know what? This is a match made in heaven. So I go in there and I made a MAGA Powers shirt, which he stole the idea. And then a month later, he's on Fox News talking about the MAGA Powers. And he goes up and it's like Star Wars. And he's like Darth Vader and I'm Luke Skywalker. And I go up, he sees the MAGA shirt and his eyes widen. I'm like, "Look at this shirt, man, the MAGA Powers." And you hear Hogan, "MAGA Powers." And I'm like, what are they going to do, dude? Will we drop the big boot on trans people? Will we drop the big boot on Social Security? And he starts, his eyes widen, and he's looking for the police who are mysteriously his paid bodyguards. Coventry, Rhode Island, what's happening down there? And they grab me, and I start yelling, "Trump is a real felon." Then he went to Epstein Island. Fight for alt-right. Fight for alt-right. And that's his theme song that I did a remix on, and they pulled me off. And a week later, I dressed up as a bear, and I did it again up in scenic Medford, Massachusetts at a liquor store called Cappy's.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't some MAGA moron and Hulk fan follow you like into a Starbucks afterwards or something?
Like, look at this video and stuff. It is not just a MAGA moron. I think it's the guy who owns Real American Beer with Hogan. He's at every one of his events. And I could just tell that after the first one, Hogan yelled at these guys like, "What are you doing, brother? You can't let this guy near me again, man. I can't get trolled like that at this point, man." And so, like, this guy let it happen again because I was in line dressed as a bear, and like my camera girl, Jess God, who's incredible, she's like, "Everybody, it's Bobby Bear," and I'm like waving and stuff. And like as soon as it happens again, you can actually hear him right at the beginning of the video go, "Oh shh, you know, and he like loses it because he realizes it's happening again. He follows me across the street to a Starbucks. And this is the thing. He thinks he's going to get Robbie Roadsteamer, triggered lunatic. And instead he gets me underneath and he starts going, yeah, man, you dressed like a bear. What's up with that? I'm like, who cares, dude? Like, you represent like a guy who did a 5-minute sex tape. Go back across the street. There's other bears probably over there.
I saw that. Yeah.
Like, I completely get out of character, throw it a curveball, and but that's the head of Real American Beer right there that went over.
You know, what I love about what you do, and there are others that you had mentioned that are very talented as well, is that what you're doing is very similar to like I would compare it a little bit, and you tell me if you disagree, to like Borat, in a sense that he makes fun of them and they look like complete fools for their racism, their bigotry, their anti-Semitism, and you throw it right at them, and it just makes them look like the fools and the idiots that they are, and you're just throwing it at them. You're using their own material.
No,
That's
absolutely. And I think Borat, I am not going to distance myself. I think it's incredible art from Sacha Cohen and stuff. And I mean, that's the way I think we need to go. And I like what Walter Masterson's doing and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's good. Yeah, he's good.
And, you know, like you said before, the good liars. But I think where I'm different from even them and stuff is I'm willing to get handcuffed and beaten and pulled away. I'm like the Gigi Allen and Punk of doing it because I don't give them enough rope to hang themselves with and do interviews, you know, dressed up as MAGA and interview them. From the very beginning, they pretty much know it's war. And that's what I like about it, because around Massachusetts, the reason why I think I'm getting a lot of love around here is because we have a strong punk rock movement with the Dropkick Murphys, who recently... I'm friends with Ken Casey, the lead singer, had their own problems, you know, making fun of a MAGA guy at a concert and, you know, controversy on Twitter and stuff. And it's like, there's this circle of, I feel, real maverick punks that I feel like, dude, once again, Brian, needs to be the answer to these beta cuck centrist Democrats that pretty much stole the election away from Bernie Sanders. Let's not lie to ourselves, man. We have not had a legitimate primary for the Democrats since Obama's first term. Second term, he ran unopposed. 2016, super delegates with Hillary Clinton. 2020, after Biden came in fourth in New Hampshire, Obama made phone calls. Elizabeth Warren dropped out. Pete dropped out. Amy from Minnesota dropped out or whatnot, and they all turned immediately to Biden and turned on Sanders, to the point where Elizabeth Warren said, oh, he said that women shouldn't be president, right at the same time.
Right.
And then in 2024, Biden runs unopposed. So we have had 4 complete cycles of not letting the progression of the American people take hold.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's what's so unique. I'm not saying that every prankster is not informed, but you are extremely informed and very educated, the opposite of what your typical MAGA Republican would be. Have you ever been, I wanted to ask you, Robbie, have you ever been, you've said you're not afraid to get arrested and stuff. What would you say? You've pulled a lot of pranks. What is the most dangerous situation you've ever been in? Can you share with us? Like something where you maybe were even in fear of your life?
There's a couple. I mean, the Steve Bannon one, even though I'm a charmer, like, you know, the difference between me and a typical activist is I'm not leading with emotions and daddy issues. I'm not screaming, what's your name and badge number? You're letting Hitler destroy. You know, I'm like, hey, bro, are there any hors d'oeuvres or anything, dude? You know, it's like underneath, man, I'm a dork. I'm a nerd, and I love to get along with people, and I can charm the living crap out of you. Jess said about the Bannon thing, she thought I was about to get shot by the handlers. She was real afraid about that. But the scariest one had to be Donald Trump at Madison Square Garden. And I was meeting up with Walter Masterson there, and there was like thousands of MAGA heads waiting in line behind these like steel dividing gates. And for some reason, there was nobody on the other side of the dividers. So I just went over there and started teeing off on a megaphone. And I sang this song making, what was it? Bob Marley. Is this woke? Is this woke that I'm feeling? I want to love the trans just like they were white. I want to love trans. every day. And this one guy, when I started to get into the chorus, like, is this woke? Is this woke? Is this woke? He grabs his backhand and he goes up and he slaps the megaphone, or tries to, out of my hand. And he yells, shut the, and whatnot up. And, he full on slaps the megaphone. He can't get it out of my hands because I have vice grip. I do those wrist strengtheners and stuff. But it was scary. And then he was trying to get over like the rails to try to get at me. You can see on Walter Masterson's feed from Madison Square Garden, he's with another guy that's ready to like just go toe to toe. And Walter actually steps in as like this straight guy. He's like, so what's happening over here with this Robbie Roadsteamer guy? Is he triggering you? And no, I've had other MAGA rallies where women hit me with, it's mostly the women. Like the women hit me with flagpoles, they kick me in the kneecaps. They one of them one time in Waltham, which is next door to me, said I showed my penis like Jim Morrison and stuff. And I literally heard her on the phone. I'm like, hey, you can see this on my YouTube, just Roadsteamer Waltham. But I'm like, did you really just say that? Like, it's not that lady.
Oh my God. I mean, you just have so many great stories. I love what you do. I know you just mentioned your YouTube. Can you give out a little bit more of the information, how people can follow you and watch your stuff? Because I think you're great. I think you are hilarious. And I just love it how you put these MAGAs in their place and just use their own stupidity on them. How can people follow you, Robbie? And how can people watch what you do and follow you?
I'm on all platforms. Just look up my last name, Roadsteamer. Road you drive on, carpet steamer. Robbie Roadsteamer. Doesn't matter if you butcher it, you will get to it. And we're turning out the videos like ticker tape and stuff, and we're having a great time. I also last month stormed the Proud Boys on Capitol Hill. They decided to have an anniversary where they literally walked the press around on the front lawn of the Capitol and showed them where they actually entered the Capitol. And I went there with the Beatles, like, let me take you down, because I'm going to the Proud Boys in D.C. They shouldn't be. The Proud Boys are pedophiles and felons.
Actually, they are. You're right about that. Robbie, I love what you do. The problem is, if you're going to pull another prank, we can't have you on before because that'll ruin it. So maybe after another one of your videos go viral, we would love to have you back. I love what you do. You are great. By the way, I'm a huge Celtics fan. I grew up in Connecticut, not too far from where you're at. I love my East Coasters, and you are awesome and great what you do.
And I will say this, dude, that like when I wear my suit, every time I wear my Len Bias jersey underneath Maryland.
Oh, I love that. The late, great Len Bias, who never was able to play games for the Boston Celtics. Well, my friend, you come out to
like the progressives.
Right. You come out to Las Vegas, I will gladly assist you in any way I can. So just
CPAC they have out there, or anything that has to do with MAGA, dude. Let's team up like Fear and Loathing and stuff, man. I love that.
I'm in. It would be an honor, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on. Love to have you on again down the road. You are great, and we will catch up with you soon. Thank you so much for the time, my friend. I appreciate you.
Love you, King. Take care.
All right, you take care. That's the legend himself, Robbie Roadsteamer, joining us. Man, is that guy hilarious or what? Oh, my God. I could not stop laughing there when he keeps telling these stories about all the people that he pranks, and the guy's brilliant. I just think he's great, and he's got a set of balls, too. I mean, he just goes right up to the Hulkster and starts singing his stuff, and goes right into a Tesla store last week and starts in his thong, by the way, and in his getup outfit, which I think is hilarious, which triggers MAGA, just starts singing break any lawn. I don't want to ruin it because his voice is a little bit deeper than mine. But anyway, I thought he was great. Wow, what a really tough job for me now to do a transition to some serious topics and some phone calls. But before I do so, breaking Elon, what we're going to do. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. They are home of the Pass the Puck contest, where you can win up to $500 in free slot play. Great food, great atmosphere. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. And also, we are in the YouTube Super Chat, so we're going to start reading some of those. Send us YouTube Super Chats. Your thoughts, questions, and comments will be read live on the air by yours truly. Also on my website, which is pushingthelimits.live, where we accept donations and T-shirts, hats, you name it. Julie made a donation on pushingthelimits.live, and Julie says, Brian, I love what you do. Please keep up the great work. Well, I greatly Appreciate that. Thank you so much for that donation. So we're accepting donations and on the YouTube super chat as well. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some phone calls when we come back. Yes. Your thoughts on Robbie Roadsteamer? Breaking Elon. I love the guy. I think he's great. We're going to get some more pranksters on the show down the road too, because I think these guys are awesome. And, we talk about a lot of serious topics on this show. Speaking of serious topics, when I take some calls when we come back, what are your thoughts on Pete Hegseth inadvertently giving a reporter access to highly sensitive real-time planning discussions? This is what happens when you hire a Twitter MAGA troll to be leading the Department of Defense. Your thoughts on that? And of course, more downfall from these alleged gang members that were deported with no due process. We're talking about that as well, and much, much more. The number to call, 702-221-7283. And again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, now is the time to do so. We usually don't have open phone lines on the show, but we got a few open lines now, so jump right in. 702-221-7283. Your thoughts on the weekend. Do you agree with me that some Democrats are finally starting to fight? Your thoughts on Pete Hegseth with the anti-transgender stuff, going after judges, which is what the Trumpers seem to do. So we got a lot to get to here, and I'm sure there's a lot that you guys want to discuss as well. MAGA calls are always welcome, of course. You guys are very special, and you always will have a platform to call in. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. We will be back in 90 seconds. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. We'll be back right after this.
Find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn, that true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Organized crime and law enforcement, we put in the work to get to the bottom of some of history's most intriguing tales, exploring the age-old dichotomy of the good guys versus the bad guys. Located in the heart of downtown Las Vegas, the Mob Museum is an immersive experience, exploring the ongoing power struggles between organized crime and law enforcement from the mob's origination to today. Located at 300 Stewart and 4th Street, themobmuseum.org. Let's have a sit-down.
The ultimate Vegas extravaganza with Terry Fader. One man, 100 voices, 1,000 laughs. Come experience an immersive journey of comedy, music, and parody songs as Terry Fader, the world's top ventriloquist, takes center stage at the Strat Hotel Casino and Tower. Be prepared to be mesmerized by Fader's incredible talent as he brings to life a cast of characters who showcase the iconic songs that define the soundtrack of our lives. Terry Fader, one man, 100 voices, 1,000 laughs.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Programming note for you tomorrow on the show. Ron Filipowski will be joining us from Midas Touch. Later on in the week, some other special guests, including a MAGA porn star. Yes, that's right. A woman by the name of Rochelle Ryan, a very popular MAGA porn star, made it to Fox News. We'll tell you why. In fact, she will tell you why when she joins us in studio on Friday. So we know that's going to be a very interesting conversation. So I want to thank our sponsors, Aura, for being a part of the show and supporting what we do. You know, I talk a lot about security breaches on this show. It could be storming the Capitol, or it could be literally an online security breach. Could be breach. Could be Bank of America. Could be X. We know that Elon had some issues with X a few weeks ago with a large security breach. Listen, you never want that to happen if you're running a company. You also want to be able to protect your family from fraud. Well, that's where Aura comes into play. Digital safety is so important, right? So they'll do all the hard work for you. They'll protect you from fraud and online threats. You don't want your personal info to be sold to scammers. Nobody wants that. So here's the best part. On the bottom of your screen, thanks to our sponsor, Aura, aura.com/PTL, you will get a free 14-day trial. No strings attached. Just try it out. You will be amazed and surprised at what they can find. Check them out again, bottom of your screen. Free 14-day trial, aura.com/PTL. And thank you to our sponsors for supporting what we do here. All right. So I promised you guys we would get right straight to the phone calls. We're also in the YouTube Super Chat where your questions and comments will be read. And check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. I hope you guys like Robbie Roadsteamer. I think he's great. I think he's hilarious. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Lou. I'm not sure where Lou is calling from, but go ahead, Lou.
Buffalo, New York, buddy.
All right. Thanks for calling in from New York, Lou. What's on your mind today?
I got one question. As you know, American voters were misled by Trump, and he won the election fair and square. But our democracy is in serious trouble, and there's only going to be one way to take that democracy back, with a revolution.
Well,
I hate to say it, but that's
what do you?
Going to happen.
Okay, well, define what you think a revolution is. Help me understand what your definition of a revolution is.
Listen, the people have to stand up and fight for their government. We have to fight for our government. That's what that says.
Okay, but define that. What do you mean fight for the, like, what is your definition of fighting for the government? I want you to be specific so I can understand whether you're.
Specific, yeah. It may get violent. It may get violent. We have no choice.
No, I think we do have a choice. Here's where we might respectfully disagree. First of all, number one, you need to hold our politicians accountable. That means whether it's phone calls or peaceful protests, there are things we can do together without being violent. Right now, I do not think violence is the answer. I've never condoned violence, right? We can't be like the MAGA right and storm the Capitol and beat police officers. I would never condone that kind of behavior. Right now, what we need to do, we can't freak out. We can't break laws. What we need to do is peacefully protest and keep the pressure on our politicians. I do see what took place over the weekend with Democrats across the country holding town halls. There's a lot of people that are angry. We can't do what some of these Republicans are doing and canceling these town halls. And I thought the Democrats, at least the ones that I played in the first segment, did a really good job. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. First and foremost, we want to be peaceful.
Right.
But enough's enough. This is our country. This is our country.
I understand.
We can't let Trump take our country from us.
I listen, I hear your frustration and I'm with you. I agree with you. Let's start by being peaceful and let's fight for our country. I'm with you, my friend. I just don't condone violence, and I don't think that's a road or a path that we should be going. But I do appreciate your call, sir, and thank you for calling out of New York. Who are we going to next year? 702-221-7283. Mark is calling out of Pennsylvania. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Good.
Talking about like revolution, these are just gaslighting words. No one's going to be doing any kind of revolutions or anything like that. We have to rely on the party that is not doing its job right now. And as long as the courts can keep holding their line. But I want to get into something a little what you were talking about with AOC and Bernie Sanders. In my opinion, right now, they're wasting their time. I don't believe going to these blue districts, going to, I don't know where the next stops are, California, Washington State,
okay, but
Oregon.
Mark,
This is all, All right, go ahead.
Hold on, Mark. They're not all blue districts, right? I mean, AOC and Bernie Sanders were here in California or here in Nevada, not a blue district. They were in parts of Arizona, not blue districts. Ro Khanna was in parts of California, not a blue district. So yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to make my point a little clearer. We saw on the campaign trail Harris going to those states that you had mentioned and getting enormous crowds. Enormous. That's because the people who showed up were Democrats or people that were going to vote for them. Why not go to Louisiana, Alabama, Oklahoma? Go into the deep red districts and get your point
Well, I
across.
think you can do both. I think you can do both. I agree. I don't know.
Not doing that.
Well, I think it would be a good idea for them to go into a deep red district. Mark, I don't have a problem with what you're saying. I think they can do that, and hopefully they will do that. Let's give them a little bit of time here because they just started this tour, but I hope they do. And if they don't, I will criticize them for that. But I like what they're doing so far. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Ray, who's calling out of Florida. Hey, Ray, what's going on?
I just want to let you know, we have an empty or open house seat here in the district I live. My wife and I did our duty and voted the correct way. I do mind talk to my neighbors the best I can. Say, get your butt down there and vote.
Mm-hmm.
The MAGA, a couple of neighbors, friends that are MAGAs, talking to them, they raising hell with me because I voted for them.
Well, they can raise hell until the cows come home, but if they support a liable sexual abuser, an adjudicated rapist, and somebody who's a 34-count felon, then maybe they should look at themselves in the mirror if they're going to talk about hell.
Also, keep your eye out for a package I mailed to you Saturday, I think. It's coming to the radio station.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you for that, sir. And, if anybody needs a new package, it might be Nancy Mace. Sorry, that was a horrible joke. 702-221-7283. Cup check, aisle 3, Nancy Mace. Don't let her in the woman's restroom. Who are we going to next year? Let's go to Luther, who's calling out of Ohio. Hi, Luther.
Yes, sir. I just heard your last caller talk about how he thinks, there needs to be violence to get things done.
Well, yeah, I disagree with that. I don't know if he was kind of making that insinuation. And I don't agree with that. And I don't condone violence in any way, shape, or form.
See, that's where I agree with him 100% because you're going to have to do it because the system's so broken.
So wait,
there's so much gerrymandering, corruption.
So what do you think that Democrats should do? They should just, I don't understand. If you're
they're just as bad as the Republicans. They're all corrupt. They're all one big club and you ain't in it, like George Carlin said.
Okay, but
Bernie Sanders is a sellout. He's a charlatan. He's just going around. He don't do that with Biden's in. He don't say about getting Chuck Schumer out. It's the only way you're going to fix it, sir, is you got to do that.
Okay,
now,
wait, hold on.
But I agree with the last caller. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, well, hold on. Hang on the line. Let's talk about this because this is an important issue. First of all, you mentioned both sides. Did the Democrats storm the Capitol and try to overthrow a free and fair election, or were those Republicans that did that? Let's start there.
Well, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Who was who there.
Whoa. What do you? Whoa. Hold on. Let's backtrack a little bit, sir, with respect. You don't know who was responsible for January 6th? You're saying that they might have been Democrats? You don't know? And you're calling out both sides?
I don't know. I can't really comment.
Okay, I don't know.
I don't want to go
okay,
there.
well, I'm going to go there because you just said they do it on both sides, and I respectfully disagree with you. They were Republicans. Let me repeat once again. They were MAGA Republicans and white supremacists who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Those weren't liberals. Those weren't Democrats. So if you're going to call out both sides, I'm not going to sit here and say that a Democrat or a lefty has never committed a violent act because that would be irresponsible and factually inaccurate. But with all due respect, sir, the people who tried to overthrow a free and fair election, who stormed the Capitol, and people who died and people who were injured, those were far-right MAGA Republicans. Now, in our lifetime, if you could name something, there were a bunch of Democrats that stormed the Capitol and tried to overthrow a free and fair election and an insurrection. I'm all ears. Please let me know, sir. But the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because you were saying it happens on both sides. And with all due respect, the January 6th insurrection were not, Democrats and lefty liberals. Why won't you admit that?
Well, if you want to go there, you can go with the Clintons and all these other Democrats that killed millions of people.
Okay, stop it.
overseas.
Stop it.
I
Stop
mean,
it. Stop it. The Democrats that killed millions of people. First of all, what specifically are you referring to? War? In war, innocent people lose their lives. Are you comparing the a war like, say, the war in Iraq, for example? You're going to compare a war where we're fighting the enemy to a bunch of right-wing insurrectionists that stormed the Capitol? Is that the analogy, sir, with respect, that you are trying to make on this show right now?
look at the Republicans and Democrats. They all kill millions of people. They don't declare war. They don't even go through Congress.
Sir, you just said that the Clintons killed millions of people. What specifically are you referring to? Are you tell me, because you're the one who made the statement.
What's that?
Okay, you didn't know if Democrats or Republicans were responsible for January 6th. I find that incredibly
I don't really care about January 6th.
So you don't. Okay, so guess what, sir? I do. So you don't care about January 6th, but you want to talk to me. Oh, they do it on both sides. Well, guess what, dumbass? Why don't you say that to Brian Sitnick's family? Brian Sitnick passed away the next day, and while Ashley Babbitt lost her life and there were actions of her own, why don't you say that to her family? Why don't you say that to the 140 officers, some of whom got traumatic brain injury? What kind of human being are you to call into this show and call out both sides? And now you've pissed me off because you don't care about January 6th. You know why you don't care about January 6th, sir? Because you're probably a MAGA supporter. Heck, you might have been there. You might be an insurrectionist. You're a Trump MAGA supporter, probably a middle-aged white dude who doesn't seem to care when a bunch of MAGA white supremacists, and you know they were Republicans, by the way. You know they were MAGA supporters. You're lying on this show, and you're playing stupid. Maybe because you are stupid. How the hell can you come on this show and say, quote, you don't care when a mob storms the Capitol, beats Capitol police officers, chanting, hang Mike Pence, 140 officers are injured, people died that day, officers committed suicide at least a week after, and you have the gall to come on this show and say, quote, I don't care. Can you please explain to my listeners why you don't care about what happened on January 6th?
All of them.
Excuse
Donald
me.
Trump.
What did you just say?
LBJK. They're all fucking.
Okay, so now you're going to swear because you're a bigot homophobe. LBG. What does that have to do with January 6th? So we have another MAGA bigot white supremacist calling into the show that's anti-gay, anti-transgender. Could somebody please explain to me why he would bring up the gay community when I ask him a question about January 6th? I think I have the answer. Because he's a freaking bigot. That's why. Because he's a dumbass. He's an ill-informed, uneducated MAGA moron. Oh, well, it happens on both sides. Oh, okay. Can you tell me something about who was responsible for January 6th? Well, I don't really want to go down that road. Oh, why is that? Because you know I'm right and they were a bunch of MAGA morons? Oh, well, that was Democrats and Republicans. I don't really go down that road. And then when I put him in a corner to ask him about it, well, I really don't care what happened on January 6th. Why don't you care, sir? Let's attack the gay community. You freaking idiot. Let me pray to God. Can we all make a prayer together? What was that gentleman's name? I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Luther? Let's call him Bigot, Mr. Bigot. Luther the Bigot. I'm going to make a prayer to God right now. I'm not a very religious person, but let's all pray together, shall we? I pray that Luther is deported from this country and send him to Russia. And if Russia is not the place where he goes, can we please deport him to Gaza or maybe even a cave in Afghanistan? And then we can respond by saying, I don't care, just like he doesn't care about what happens on January 6th. And then we can make up a story, just like the White House, that he had some sort of tattoo on his body, and that's why we deported him. You freaking idiot, you. You don't care about January 6th, and then you want to say that Hillary Clinton is responsible for murdering a bunch of people, and you're such a freaking moron. You can't even admit that those were Trump supporters that stormed the Capitol? You imbecile. When Donald Trump said he loved the uneducated, he was talking about you, sir. Have a nice day. And I mean it when I say I hope they deport you. You idiot. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Rose. Rose is calling out of Ohio. What's up, Rose?
Hi, Brian. I was just calling because a friend of mine, well, she used to be a friend of mine in high school, and every once in a while we talk on Facebook, and she, I was posting about Trump and things like that. And she replied to one of my posts stating that she loves Donald Trump and he had such a big mess to clean up from President Biden, and that Donald Trump actually gave everybody a raise on their Social Security. And she lives in Kentucky. Now, how do Trumpsters think like that? I try to explain to her that everyone gets the cost of living, raise every year for Social Security. And
well, I'll give you an example. I'll answer
how they think.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll give you an answer of how they think. And I'm going to go to the YouTube chat right now and give you an example. So there's somebody in a YouTube chat right now. Her name is Lisa, and Lisa just said no officers died because of January 6th. So Lisa's ill-informed, and let me explain. So there's an officer by the name of Brian Sitnick the following day who had some sort of brain aneurysm or blood clot and died. Now, on his autopsy, they said he died of natural causes. However, the person who conducted that autopsy said that he believed on the record that January 6th played a role in his condition. So if there's anybody out there who thinks that Brian Sitnick's death less than 24 hours after January 6th had nothing to do with it, then you're an imbecile. So that's exactly what I am talking about. They don't know what they're saying. They don't have all the facts. And then when you bring up January 6th, they bring up Black Lives Matter protests. Does that make sense? Are you still there? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. That's how, listen, you can't really have a good faith conversation with somebody like that, my dear. You just can't. Just like you can't have a good faith conversation with an imbecile who said Brian Sitnick's death had nothing to do with January 6th. By the way, even if that was true, which it's not, 140 officers were injured that day. People died. It was a very sad day and an embarrassing day for the country. You can't defend it. You can try to, but you can't. Lisa, why don't you call into the show and tell me how Brian Sitnick's death had nothing to do with January 6th? Why don't you show some guts and call in? 702-221-7283. And again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. 702-221-7283. Yeah, we'll make Lisa a star on this show. She sounds very intelligent. Let's go to Frank. Frank is calling out of Wisconsin. We do have an open phone line. What's up, Frank?
Hey, Brian. How are you doing?
Hey, good, Frank. What's on your mind?
I got Robbie Steamboat. Great guy.
He's
funny
awesome.
Guy.
He's very funny.
I love him. And you know what? Can't they get Hegseth and Trump on espionage charges on that for letting that war plan go?
Well, that's a very good. I think you asked about the Epstein, right? The Epstein files. Is that
No. Hegseth and
Hegseth. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
and Donald Trump on espionage.
Espionage. I'm sorry. I got that confused with Epstein. I apologize. Well, here's what we know for sure. And it's a good question that you ask. Today, he inadvertently let a reporter have access to highly sensitive real-time planning discussions. Okay. That's what he did today. And on the weekend, he took a page out of his boss's playbook and started going to social media late Saturday night because he had nothing better to do, hurling insults at a sitting judge that granted an indefinite injunction against Trump's attempted ban on transgender volunteers and service members in the military, which is absolutely outrageous, by the way. So that's what our Secretary of Defense has been up to over the course of the last several days. I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting and it's despicable.
You're right. And thank you for taking my phone call there, Brian. You have a good one.
Thank you,
Keep it
Frank.
up.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you very much. So the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. Reminder that we are in the YouTube super chat where your questions and comments will also be heard. And of course, the website pushingthelimits.live. So I believe we're going to Scott next, who's calling from Idaho. Hey, Scott, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I just wanted to talk kind of about the big elephant in the room that's happening that nobody seems to be taking seriously, and that is the destruction of our democracy.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely driving me mad. I'm losing sleep over it. It's the insanity is there, and all the signs are there, and people are ignoring them. It's dismantling of Social Security, the deportation of people with legal status in the United States, that was just announced. What, it was 540 or 550,000 people from Cuba and other countries.
Right.
I don't know. I just called to kind of vent to you, and I do listen to your show quite a bit, and you do a great job. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
I am just so frustrated.
So I want to talk to you. So I agree with everything you just said. And I appreciate your kind words. And I commented on this yesterday on social media, and I'm going to repeat it to you today, and you tell me what you think. Okay. I do not recognize the country that we are living in today. This is not the country that I grew up in, right? Ever since Trump took office. And right now we are living in a country where people do not have due process. Forget about just deporting people that might be undocumented, making claims that they're in gangs and that they're violent criminals when the White House has provided no direct evidence of that. That's number one. I don't want to live in a country where ICE is going into our schools and religious sanctuaries and deporting people, some of whom have lived in this country for decades, that pay their taxes, that are nonviolent criminals. I don't want to live in a country, as much as we might hate you and me, the far right-wing media members. Donald Trump has called people like me enemies of the people, and that I should be jailed, and members of CBS and other left-leaning entities should be jailed. I don't want to live in a country where every single time a judge rules against a politician that they attack the judge and the judge's family. That's exactly what's going on here. And when they break the law, which, by the way, they've already done multiple times since day one in Donald Trump's administration, their excuse is, well, we think the law is unconstitutional. That's not how our justice system works. Doesn't mean you have to agree with every judge's decision, but to go after a judge personally and go after members of his family is unbelievably disgusting. It's disgusting. It's repugnant. But you know what? That's what the Trump administration is doing. I don't recognize this country that I live in today. I'm still proud to be an American. I'm not one of those people or those far left liberals like the Rosie O'Donnells that are saying, I'm going to move to Ireland. No, I'm not that. I'm not at that point yet. But I can tell you that I am very upset and I'm very concerned, as you are, about our democracy, and rightfully so. I don't think Donald Trump is going to leave in 3.5 years. They're going to come up with some scheme where some MAGA Republican, maybe it's a J.D. Vance, I don't know, that is going to run for president, and Donald Trump will run as his vice president. I'm saying it right now. 3.5 years from now, I think that's what's going to happen. So I am just as concerned as you are.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree that he is not going to leave office. My biggest fear right now is that our only chance is to actually make it to the midterm elections, and actually turn it over. And not that I even trust our election system anymore, because I don't believe that there's any way possible that Donald Trump won every single swing state.
Okay, so I want to respond to this because I think it's a very important thing that you brought up, and you might not you might not agree with me on this one, okay? But Rosie O'Donnell made some comments that you made. And Rosie O'Donnell said that she thought that the election might have been stolen and that Elon Musk was involved and blah, 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 blah. So here's why I don't go down that road. And it's for the same reasons why I disagree with these MAGA Republicans saying that the election was rigged. I need to see evidence of widespread voter fraud. And if somebody can't show me evidence of that, no matter how suspicious you might be, we can't be like them. Now, I'm not saying you're going to storm the Capitol, because I know you're not. I'm not saying that you're going to be chanting hang Kamala Harris, right? Because I know you're not. But at the same time, if we're going to say, first of all, Donald Trump's our president, right? He's not going anywhere for the next 3.5 years. And I think what we need to focus on is what you talked about earlier, which is the midterms. And I think that would be more productive than making a claim that the election might have been stolen, because I haven't seen any evidence of widespread voter fraud. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's my fear. My fear is that we may not even make it to those midterm elections. And I think that that's why this administration seems to be picking fights with everybody in the world, so he can get us into some little war with some country that we could kick the crap out of if we wanted to declare himself, in wartime, special powers that he will never, ever, ever relinquish.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like is happening.
I think that is a very different, and I agree with you, by the way. I don't disagree with you on that, my friend. I think you bring up a very valid point. But I do think making those claims, which I think are very valid, are very different than claiming that the election was stolen, if that makes sense. But I understand your frustration. I'm with you. I think you made a lot of great points. Let's stay in this fight together. and let's do something about it in the midterms, and let's make sure that Democrats can retain power. They're not perfect, but I will take Democrats governing this nation over Republicans in 2025 any day of the week, my friend. And I really do appreciate your call. All right, so he's a regular on this show, man, and I got to go to him because he's a former NBA veteran, and he's an avid listener of the PTL radio show. So how could I not go to Paul McKesky, also known as Mo? Mo, what's going on, man?
Well, you can follow me on my new email is my bracket is busted.com. But,
what's going on, Mo? What's on your mind?
But I just wanted to jump in on the other caller, and I'm not losing sleep over it, but I'm having much concerns over our government and the direction it's going. And we've had many, many discussions, even a year ago, about when Donald Trump invited Viktor Orban, who is now controlling Turkey, and the way he took control of that former democratic country is exactly the blueprint that Donald Trump is following. Make chaos, separate the country, claim that you're doing everything that you're saying you're doing, and he's following that game plan. And even to the point of, I hate to say this, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but we have the first American oligarch in Elon Musk.
Yeah.
The definition of an oligarch is a rich person, unelected, that has big say in the government. That's exactly what he is, and that's the direction we're going, and it's scary to me.
It is extremely scary. I agree with you. We do have an oligarchy. And you're one of the first, one of my friends that spoke about this as soon as Elon Musk got into the picture, and you were 150% correct. And this is the part that I really don't understand there's a lot of things I don't understand about these MAGA Republicans, but one of them in regards to Elon Musk is this, Mo, is that these MAGA Republicans think that Elon Musk just woke up one day and said, you know what, I really care about this country. I might not care about my own kids. I'm a terrible father. I'm a terrible family man. But I just care so much about this country and wasteful spending. I'm going to donate $300 to $400 million to Donald Trump's campaign, and I just want to help with government waste. The fact that anybody could think that are the same idiots that think that Donald Trump woke up one day and said, you know what, I just want to make America great again. It's not about me. It's about everybody else.
It's mind-boggling. And, not only selling Teslas on the White House lawn, but he just, Trump peddles everything. It's all about the money, and it's frustrating. I don't know how you could do it, because I'm a friend of yours, and you have to do it, and you have to fight the fight and keep fighting it. But when I talk to MAGAs or supporters, and they just put everything aside. I don't care how he acts, what he says, who he denigrates, what he does. I like his policies, and that's so ridiculous to me that, a guy that got into the presidency and promises everything. Hello, people, wake up. He promised you everything.
Yeah.
No tax on tips. No tax on Social Security. Oh, by the way, I might take away your Social Security. What? It's scary, man. Crazy.
It is scary. It is crazy. And at the same time, we need people with platforms like yours and others to continue to speak out against this oligarchy. You're 150% correct. And listen, I don't know what's going to happen here over the course of the next 6 months. I mean, one of two things are going to happen. Either Elon Musk and Donald Trump are going to double down on their stupidity, and they are going to destroy this country as we know it, and or they're going to have some sort of falling out, and it's all going to crumble, and Elon Musk is going to quit, and he's going to go back into his bubble of tweeting all day. He does that anyway. So it's going to go one way or the other. I'm hoping it's the latter, even though it won't solve all of our problems.
Yeah, I agree. And I think two personalities like that, they're so identical, right?
Yeah.
That they're going to butt heads on something, but the problem is that Trump got smart. His first 4 years were, just chaos, but now he has controlled chaos, and he has here's what scares me. He has the people in place at the head of every department that just say yes to him, and now he's going to put generals of our military that just say yes to him in place. And that is the control of our country. And that's, and your other caller said it so well. I didn't even think about this, but he could pick a fight with some small country and have some war, quote unquote, where really it's not, and then declare that, hey, we're in war time, so I have control over everything and I'm not leaving.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mo. I appreciate that. By the way, I also recommend anybody Google the name Paul McKesky. He had one of the best porn stashes in the 80s. I wanted to add that, Mo, in there as well.
Hey, you said I had a nice fro too. I'm not going to say what kind of fro you said.
It was a nice fro. Yeah, it was a religion. Look up Paul McKesky 1980s and you'll see it for yourself. Big Mo, Paul McKesky, thanks for joining us, my friend. I appreciate you as always.
Right,
all right, you have a good one.
Later, man.
You have a good one, Mo.
Okay.
We love Paul McKesky on this show. We love Mo. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I'm serious, guys. You should Google Paul McKesky. The guy was a big 7-footer who played in the NBA for 12 years. He had one of the best stashes in the history of the NBA. All right, who are we going to do next here? Let's see. Let's go to Carla, who's calling in from LA, I believe. Hey, or Louisiana. Oh, Iowa. Okay, my eyes are terrible. Iowa, I apologize. Go ahead, Carla.
Well, what bothers me, Brian, is that he's going after the lawyer firm, like the one that he went after just about a week ago, where they paid $40 million and they're going to have Trump is just terrible. If he does that to one law firm, what are the rest of the country going to do? They're going to have to get together and fight this.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with so many wealthy people on the far right is they use our justice system because they don't like somebody. You know, they have the funds to do it and they go after the middleman or someone who's struggling. But because they have the money to do it, again, they use our justice system as retribution or just to go after somebody and make their life living hell. That's the problem with these people.
And the other thing that I'm worried about is democracy. I think about that all the time, all day long. Like the gentleman you had earlier, he sleeps. I don't sleep. I sleep pretty well. I don't think about it that much. But when I do think about it, I get so furious. I'm furious because there's nothing that I can do. I'm 79 years old, and I wish I was younger that I can get up and fight.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, my dear. Just because you might be a little bit older and you can't get around like you used to doesn't mean you can't fight. You still have a telephone. You can call into your representatives and you can pressure them and speak your mind. You always have a platform on this show. So there is a lot you can do, my dear. And just because you might not call yourself a spring chicken, it certainly sounds to me that your mind is working just as well as ever. So let me tell you something. You have a voice. You always have a voice on this show and you can fight. Doesn't mean not talking about physically, right? We don't want violence here, but it doesn't mean that you have to be leaving your home every single day. And I appreciate your phone call so very, very much, my dear. You will always have a platform on this show and we can fight this together. And I appreciate you very much. 702-221-7283. Dave is calling out of New York. What's up, Dave?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
A couple things. On the subject of recount of the vote after the last election, here's what bothers me, okay? And here's what bothers me just a little bit about your approach and your logic. If Trump had lost those 8 swing states, don't think for 1 second that he wouldn't have challenged it for the next 4 years.
I agree.
Just like he did the last 4 years.
I agree, but that doesn't mean
All right,
Democrats
so
should be doing that. Why should Democrats be doing that?
But here's my problem. Why did Kamala just roll over and concede? Why couldn't she have made it at least a little difficult and say, hey, something's fishy here? This just doesn't make sense.
Maybe because
we need to have recounts in these swing states. And here's the question: who initiates that action? What you're saying is, well, there's no evidence that anything happened. But who's going to initiate the action to find that evidence? That's the issue. It's not that there's no evidence; it's that there's no one that challenged it.
Okay, so hang on.
To get the evidence.
Okay, so hang on. Let's talk about this. So first of all, just because MAGA Republicans do it doesn't mean that Democrats should do it. In general, that's the first point I will make. Number 2,
right?
Maybe Kamala Harris was told by her people, I don't know, that there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud, that maybe just because there's some anomalies, which I guess there were, doesn't mean that there was fraud. In order to investigate something, first, there has to be a there. Here's what we know. Donald Trump won the swing states by somewhere around 300,000 to 400,000 votes. He won the popular vote by about between 1.4 and 1.7%, one of the closest elections in our lifetime. That's all we know. We don't know of any widespread voter fraud that was taking place. If there was a there and any direct evidence of that, then I would agree with you. The problem is that there isn't. Nobody's come up with anything. And in order for there to be an investigation, which would cost a lot of money and all that other stuff, just because listen, I hate the fact that Donald Trump won, just like you. I hate the fact that this guy is the commander in chief, just like you. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. All those emotions, right, and feelings. But we can't say to me, what Rosie O'Donnell said was very ignorant, in my personal opinion. We can't be like them. Now, I'm not saying Rosie O'Donnell is going to storm the Capitol. I'm not saying that Democrats are going to start chanting, hang Kamala Harris, right? They didn't go there and they won't go there, and we shouldn't go there. But with that being said, just because we don't like an outcome of an election doesn't mean that we should be crying foul. Now, if somebody can provide evidence that there was widespread voter fraud, or even a there where they will conduct an investigation, then I'm with you. But nobody has provided anything other than, boy, it was really strange that Donald Trump won all the swing states. You got to come up with more than that in order for there to be an extensive investigation. That's all I'm saying.
When Trump, or not Trump, I'm sorry, when George W. won the second election and it went to Florida, right?
Correct.
And then it went to the Supreme Court, and then they had a recount after Gore conceded, right?
Correct.
And the recount was that Gore had won the state of Florida. Okay? So all I'm saying is this. It was too late at that point. Supreme Court had already ruled. They did the recount anyhow, and they found out, guess what? Gore won the popular vote in Florida on the recount. All right? Now, all I'm saying is, if you want to get people behind the Democratic Party, they got to show a little bit of fight.
Okay, but here's where I disagree with you. Here's where I agree with you on the fact that Democrats have to show fight, but you don't want to hear this. And what I'm trying to tell you is we are stuck with Donald Trump. Questioning the election, you can do that every day. Donald Trump isn't going anywhere. I think you should take that energy and that fight towards the midterms and the next election, and calling out Donald Trump every day and holding his feet to the fire along with these other MAGA Republicans. Talking about what's in the past and the election in the past is not going to move the country forward, and that could hurt Democrats. That's my personal opinion. You have the right to question the election.
It makes us wiser. Okay, it makes us wiser to talk about what happened in the past so that we don't do it again. I read an article today, also a Polish news article that talked about why Trump is under Putin's thumb. It was a Polish newspaper, and the Kremlin, Russia, bailed him out of bankruptcy, and that's the bottom line. Why Trump can't say anything bad about Putin.
We know. That's obvious. We know that Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump is again a puppet for Vladimir Putin. I agree with you. I'm not sure that it always makes you wiser talking about the past. If there was actual real election fraud that could be proven in a court of law, then we should continue to talk about it. I agree with you. Until somebody can show me actual real evidence that there was, I would say the same thing about 2020 to people say that Trump won in 2020. Now, I understand Trump didn't question the election. He said it was rigged and he said he won, which is obviously a lie. I think there are more productive things we can do. That's all I am saying. If you think that the election was stolen and you think that somehow there were shenanigans going on, then you got to take it to some attorneys and they got to find some actual real evidence. And to my knowledge, nobody has shown any real evidence that the election was stolen. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. And again, that number, 702-221-7283 in the YouTube super chat. Thank you, Big Dog, who says, please watch Greg Palast voter suppression. I will take a look at that, but it probably won't change my opinion on the elections. And my opinion is we need to move forward and we need to make sure that the Democrats win and have a good midterms coming up and make sure that no MAGA Republican can ever get back into office. Okay, Amir is calling out of California. Hi, Amir.
Hey, Brian. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
Good. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for having the show.
You bet.
I wanted to ask you about a comment that James Carville made a couple months ago regarding why the Democratic Party, particularly the ones that used to make the most noise, isn't, for a lack of better words, going at the throat right now. Carville had mentioned the Democratic Party essentially being on standby right now, waiting for the right moment to pounce. We're seeing little pushback, right? We're seeing Bernie, AOC on tour, but I'm still not seeing any mainstream Democrats that we're used to really take the airwaves the same way that the Republican Party did throughout the 4 years of, throughout the 8 years of Obama and the 4 years of Biden's presidency. So I don't believe him when he says like, oh, you know, give the Republican Party 30 days to fully collapse or whatever. I don't respect when people put a timeline on that stuff because it's never really happened. But given it's been 2 months, do you think that they're still waiting on the right opportunity, or are you kind of losing confidence in the party as much as I am right now?
I have been losing a lot of confidence in the party. However, I was positive to start the show today because I like what I saw over the weekend by select Democrats that held rallies and that were having town halls. I think they're fighting those. I think they did a good job over the weekend. Maybe they're starting to get it. As a whole, I am very disappointed with the party. And I think they need to fight fire with fire. I am disappointed in Hakeem Jeffries. I am disappointed in Chuck Schumer. And yes, I am disappointed in the 8 or so Democrats that voted for this ridiculous GOP spending bill and caved to Donald Trump. So yes, I think it's a little bit of both, my friend. I think some are waiting, some are not waiting. And the problem with the Democrat Party is they all need to be on the same page, and they are not. When we take a look at Donald Trump's speech several weeks ago, you had some people that didn't show up. You had some people that left early, and then you had some people looking ridiculous with their little bingo signs out there, not in unison, putting up the signs up whenever they wanted to, and they looked ridiculous. So to me, that was a microcosm of the Democrat Party today. They're not organized. They're not all on the same page, and they need to be moving forward. No matter what they decide to do, fine, but be on the same page, for Christ's sake. You got some Democrats that are touring the country. You got other Democrats that are doing book tours. You got some Democrats that are remaining silent. You've got some Democrats like Fetterman who are siding with MAGA Republicans. So they all need to be on the same page. And that, to me, that's the biggest issue. They're not organized.
You're absolutely right, man. And I hate hypotheticals, but do you think like possibly the DNC is like still in the process of regrouping, or do you think maybe like strategically maybe their reactions right now may be premature and that's why they're not taking action?
I think it could be.
I'm not really sure.
Well, I think I'm not really sure either. I think it could be a little bit of both. But I can tell you, we need some new leadership. I can tell you right now, we need better people in office. And listen, if some of you people want to hang your hat on the election was stolen, you can go ahead and you do that. But to me, you're doing exactly what some of these MAGA Republicans did. I'm not talking about the ones that stormed the Capitol and committing crimes. You have a right to think that way if you would like. But guess what? It doesn't matter unless it's proven in a court of law. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. It doesn't matter what you think about the election so long as it can't be proven in a court of law. You have to show actual evidence. You can question it until the cows come home, but a judge will laugh in your face when you say, geez, I think that Elon Musk broke some laws. Oh, really? How did he do that? Do you have any names? Do you have any evidence? No, I don't. A judge will laugh in your face, just like 61 judges laughed in Donald Trump's face when his attorneys tried to say that the election was stolen and they threw out the cases on merit. The same thing will happen to you. You have to be able to move forward unless you can provide actual real evidence. That's all I'm saying. 702-221-7283. Dave is calling out of Ohio on line 4. Let's go to Dave. Hey, Dave, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian. How you doing today?
Good.
First thing is, I got a couple points. First thing is, Lex from Ohio. I heard a rumor that he is actually J.D. Vance's couch pimp, and that's the way he was acting, the way he was. So
that could be true.
For rest of us Ohioans, we do have a normal brain. But here's a couple points I was breaking. I know everybody's freaking out that, Trump's never going to leave office in 4 years. I saw a video over the weekend of him, and I'm telling you right now, I don't think he's going to make 4 years, meaning I think he's going to have like a massive coronary. I really do.
You're talking about Trump?
Yeah, Trump.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Trump.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, and I can tell you the man is going to be in his early 80s. He obviously has a terrible diet. He's morbidly obese. However, I will also say this: some of the worst people in society seem to live to 100. I don't know why that is, but some of the worst people in society, their ticker just keeps on going. So, I don't know.
Well,
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
Okay, and one other quick thing. I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't know. I know you do a lot with the Midas Touch. Did you see the video with Elon Musk over the weekend where he looked high? Like where he was like taking. Okay, here's my question.
Yeah.
Well, before I don't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say. Here is my point. If you're work for the government, if you're a contractor or anything, and I know this, know this for a fact. You have to get this thing called a drug test. Now, if you fail the drug test, you no longer have a contract. You no longer have a job. Why can't Congress or even the Democrats start a thing saying we want him drug tested? If he comes back clean, fine. If he comes back dirty, goodbye dose.
Well,
goodbye
guess what?
Elon Musk.
Here's the problem with that. Now, I agree with you. I wish that was the case, and I don't know whether Elon Musk is on drugs or not. What we know is he's very socially inept. And he's a weird dude. But here's what I will say to that. If somebody decided to give Elon Musk a drug test, and by the way, I don't think Elon Musk would ever abide by it, but let's just say, hypothetically speaking, he did and he failed the test. The person who demanded he take a drug test would be fired immediately. They would lose power. They would lose their job because Donald Trump would never allow it. And if it did happen, he would fire that person immediately. It's delusions of grandeur. I'm sorry to say that, sir, because I'm with you. I wish that could happen. But it's never going to happen. Do I know if he's on drugs or not? I don't. It wouldn't surprise me. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, my friend. And I really do appreciate your phone call. 702. I think Elon Musk is on the drug of narcissism. He's on the narcissism pill. 702-221-7283. Who are we going to here? It looks like Brian is calling out of California, right? Let's go to Brian. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Oh, man. I love your show, first time caller.
Oh, thanks, man.
I have a question, honestly, for everybody who agrees with you and agrees with me. Is like, you guys are talking about why Kamala Harris didn't challenge the election, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys think that maybe it's because we spent 4 years trying to debunk the election fraud, that it would just be wild to just come out and just say that it was fraud by the Republicans this time? And not only that, do you think like Elon Musk, all these conspiracy theories about how Starlink, manipulated this year's election or last year's, whatever, that it's, I don't even know how to put it. It's that it's too late. Like, it would look ridiculous if she came out and just had the same argument.
I know.
It
would.
Donald Trump.
It would look ridiculous. We can't be them. That's the message I'm trying to convey here. We can't.
Right.
When I say we, I mean anybody who understands that
I agree.
Trump didn't win the 2020 election. Sadly, 6 out of 10 Republicans think that Trump won the election. They're idiots. But we can't be like them. And when I say we, I'm not just talking about Democrats. I'm putting Republicans in there too, because there are Republicans out there that understand that Trump didn't win in 2020. We can't be like them.
I mean, but we ruined the opportunity. Like, even Gore challenged the election.
But there was evidence and reason why Gore did that, because it came down literally to hundreds of votes in Florida. He was there's nobody that can make the case he wasn't within reason to do so.
We're talking about 100 judges that voted against Trump.
Right.
100 judges that said there was no election fraud. So how could we come in? But do you think, my real question is, do you think there was some crazy way that they figured out, Elon Musk or whatever, Starlink, they figured out, okay, it wasn't fraud last time, but this time we've actually figured out how to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my honest answer on that one, and the answer is no. I personally, now, do I think Elon Musk did some shady things? Absolutely. Paying people $1 million? Does Trump win without Elon Musk? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know, my friend, but I'm with you on that one. And yeah, it would make Kamala Harris look foolish. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Al. Al is next up on PTL. Hello, Al.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I just want to tell you that I am so glad to see how the Democratic Party has been devastated and traumatized by Donald Trump, and you admitting it.
Never have I said on this show that the Democrats were traumatized by Donald Trump. Why would you say that? I've never said that on this show.
Because it was just what you just said.
No, I never said that. First of all,
no, you didn't say that.
Al,
you didn't say that. Okay. No, okay.
Al,
Let me finish.
No. First of all, you just started a phone call once again, like you always do, misrepresenting and misquoting me. I never said that somehow Donald Trump traumatized the Democratic Party. He certainly traumatized his ex-wives and members of his family and maybe even some women on Epstein Island, but he certainly hasn't traumatized half the country, in the aspect of for political reasons. I've never made that case. I'm trying to put up, give you some things that I think the Democrats need to do moving forward. And unlike you, I'm able to criticize both sides of the aisle. That doesn't mean I said that Donald Trump has traumatized the Democrat Party. By the way, if you really want to talk about traumatizing, why don't you talk about the little girls, the teenage girls, when the locker rooms he went in there? If you want to talk about traumatizing, why don't you talk about some of his behavior and what he did to E. Jean Carroll and the 20.
When can I talk?
When can you? When I tell you to, you my lapdog. Okay, Al. Next time you call into the show,
You know
yeah. You know what?
You're an idiot.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I'm gonna let you talk, Al. I'm gonna let you go, but I'm giving you some advice. Okay, I didn't hang up on you. I'll let you talk. Why don't you apologize and retract what you just said to start this show? Or did you hang up the phone? Exactly. You see, here's a little MAGA 101 for an idiot like Al. I think we know who the real idiot is. Okay. When you start a conversation, don't start the conversation by misquoting and misrepresenting something I said. Okay, Al? Otherwise, next time you call into this show, I'll say, hey, Al hangs out with 15-year-old girls. And then you'll get defensive, rightfully so, and say, Brian, I never said that. Do you see where I'm going with that, Al? We can have differences of opinions, but next time you call into the show, which you're welcome to, don't misrepresent something I said. And if you want to talk about the people that Donald Trump has traumatized, let's talk about E. Jean Carroll. Let's talk about Ivana Trump, who once said under oath in a deposition that Donald Trump raped her. Let's talk about the 25 women that have come forward that have said Donald Trump either raped or sexually abused them. If you want to talk about traumatized, or the teenage girls when he went into those beauty pageant locker rooms without their permission. You want to talk about traumatizing? Let's talk about that, because I agree with you. Donald Trump has traumatized people in this country, but it's not just the left or half the country that are Democrats. And by the way, I've never said that, but I will agree with you. Donald Trump has traumatized some people. Maybe even some people on Epstein Island. I don't know. We know he was on the flight log 7 times. Why haven't the Epstein files been released, Al? Can you answer that one for me? Oh, wait a second. Al hung up the phone like the mega moron coward inbred that he is. Have a nice day, Al. 702-221-7283. It's time for Darlene, the MAGA destroyer. What's up, Darlene?
Hey, Brian, I just got out of the hospital yesterday, but I'm watching, and I got a message for Miss Lisa and Al. You know what you can do? You can all kiss our butts, because we are sick and tired of people like you. You don't know nothing, and you dang sure don't know nothing, Lisa. 5 men died because of that, and it's horrible. And Al, if you don't have anything nice to say or anymore, go call a MAGA somebody where they love you, because we don't care.
Yeah, and well said, Darlene. By the way, we're glad you're out of the hospital, and we hope you're okay. We love you here on the show, Darlene, and we appreciate you. To Al that was calling in, let's not waste any more time with him. He's just an imbecile. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. George is calling out of Pennsylvania. Hey, George, what's going on?
How you doing?
Good.
Sounds like you've had quite the engagement there.
Well, yeah. Well, we do have a lot of people that listen to the show, George.
With Al.
Al. Well, Al's very special. He's a very special person.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple things, and I'm going to straight up tell you, the first time I've ever called in about anything, ever, in my life. And I've got a few years on me. I bought my first house in '84, so that tells you how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time in my life I've ever been worried about our government.
Yeah.
But I will say this. There's a way to resolve some of the problems that we've been facing. And repeatedly I hear, well, the Republican Party has a lot of money, and they just like Elon Musk donated to his campaign.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to resolve that. There really is a really, really simplistic way to resolve that. And the reason I say this is because when Donald Trump took office, there wasn't one single penny more in the budget or less in the budget. And that goes for any other official in any office of the government. When they take office, the budget is exactly the same regardless of party. Having said that, what they should do is put campaign money into a pot. And on a certain date, say, okay, no more campaign money. Divide it among the two candidates and see what they can do with it, because that's what you're asking them to do with a budget.
Yeah.
You're asking them to do the same thing with the same amount of money. So,
but what you're
that
asking,
would eliminate a lot of problems.
I agree with you, but you have to understand what you're asking for are both parties to come together and come up with some sort of new system. And I'm sorry, I just don't. I'm not saying I disagree with you, my friend. I really do, and I appreciate your phone call. I just don't see it happening. Let's go to Paul. Paul is calling next. Hey, Paul, thanks for calling in, my friend. What's going on?
Hey, stranger. I wanted to pick a bone with Rosie O'Donnell really quick. Not everybody has the privilege of being rich and just leaving the country when things get tough. I kind of think she's a coward, if I'm honest with it. She could have stayed here and fought. What about the people that are poor or can't even leave the state or pay their rent? And she's got some audacity to leave the country and then talk crap about America on the other side of the world. I think that's really bold to do that.
So I was asked this. So I did Piers Morgan earlier today, and we're probably going to play some clips of that show tomorrow. And I was asked this question about Rosie O'Donnell. So I'm with you in spirit here. I don't like Rosie O'Donnell's statements. I don't think it moves the needle forward in any way, shape, or form. But I will say this: Rosie O'Donnell's not going to be storming the Capitol, and she's not going to be beating police officers. But I just think it's a bad look for Democrats in general to keep talking about how the election might have been stolen, because, quite frankly, you sound like the same MAGAs that claim that Donald Trump won the election. And unless somebody, I just think it's a bad look. As far as her moving to another country, I also agree with you. I think that's cowardly in some ways. Stay here and fight with people that are on the left that are anti-Donald Trump. And I think that would be a lot more productive than just being wealthy and rich and a celebrity and moving to another country. So I agree with you.
But the reality is, regardless of the outcome of the election, we have 70 million people that overlooked misogyny, racism, sexism, and rape. That's really, instead of focusing on the election, we really got to address why do that many people still have that view of America and why they're okay with it. That's really the larger issue that needs to be addressed, is that part of society.
Yeah, I agree with you.
In my opinion.
No, Paul, I agree with you, man. And I appreciate the call. It's good to hear from you. And we appreciated you co-hosting with us last week. That was a lot of fun. No, listen, I agree with you. I was asked this on Piers Morgan today, and I gave the answer, and we'll play some of that for you tomorrow. YouTube Super Chat, by the way, is still going. I get people every day, good people that say they want to be a big part of the show, and they want to be able to help out in some way, shape, or form and support what we do here. We are an independently owned radio show. So what does that mean? It means that we rely on all you wonderful people, the people that listen to this show, that spread the word. You can subscribe to my YouTube page for free, by the way. We're just short of 85,000 subscribers. We want to get to 100 so I can get that YouTube gold plaque, right, and brag to everybody about it. But in all seriousness, check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Pushingthelimits.live. You can make donations on there. You could also make purchases, PTL gear, shirts, hats, beanies, you name it, we sell it. And then, as I mentioned earlier, of course, the YouTube Super Chat, where your questions and comments can be heard. We always appreciate that as well. Tomorrow on the program, by the way, the #1 podcast in America from Midas Touch, Ron Filipowski will be joining us. So we're certainly looking forward to that. We're going to have some other special guests lined up for later in the week. Hey, I got to tell you guys, in a day and age where we are, what's the word I'm looking for? Very concerned. We talk about a lot of serious topics on this show. I think Robbie Roadsteamer is hilarious and exactly what we need. Put a smile on our face at the same time, mocking and getting MAGA across the country with their own stupidity. I think he does a wonderful job. So please follow Robbie on YouTube and on social media platforms. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Catch the Piers Morgan show today. I appeared on there for about 45 minutes or so with Michael Knowles and a few others. And it got a little feisty, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. In a span of 45 minutes, I called somebody Jersey Shore. I called somebody an idiot. Somebody was making fun of my hat, which is, boy, that really hurts to the core. And I broke some breaking news on the show about Michael Knowles, and I said it to him on the show. So you're not going to want to miss all that stuff. It's always fun doing Piers Morgan's show, and I appreciate him inviting me back. Check out my socials at PTL Radio Show, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, you name it, we're on it. Love you all in PTL Nation. Stay strong out there, and we will see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more.